Hey guys, I was out tonight. It's probably about 10:30 now, but I had a moment of weakness, and all of a sudden, on a lark, it was, you know, instantaneous. I kind of had, I would say, a compulsion to go and buy some beer. And I know I'm an alcoholic. I'm doing this for a while. I've had problems with alcohol since before I've even turned 18. When I was 15, 16 years old, I was really putting it away and hanging out with that kind of crowd and doing the craziest stuff that any person would ever do. And I can't say that those weren't awesome times. I had a great time. It was a blast. I mean, you do some things that you never thought that you'd imagine, that liquid courage, and it kills some. I mean, a lot of my friends didn't walk away from the experience. Two of them are dead, and the other's in jail, and another one is working on rehab real hard with a heroin addiction. So you live the life of a rock star, or I guess it's better to say, to quote Nietzsche when he said, don't gaze into the abyss, or the abyss will gaze back. And so it's like to say to kind of embrace that darkness, to embrace those things that are not good for you, to be gluttonous, and you look and you're having fun with it, and then all of a sudden it's dark and it's not so fun anymore. And even still to this day, I mean, I've been sober for a good long while now, and the longer you stay sober, the greater hesitation that you have when you do get the temptation to drink. You will get the bug. I mean, you will get the bug. It's genetic. You know, my grandfather was alcoholic on both sides. My mom is a hardcore alcoholic. Was even encouraged to drink by my mom at a fairly young age. My friends' parents, had no problem with drinking at a very young age, and they're in culture and society. There's so many things that are wrapped around drinking because it lowers the inhibitions, and even the Romans said, "In vino veritas," and wine brings truth. And I mean, you could be the hardest dude around if you can be the last man standing, and not many people can keep up, and not many people can keep their wits. And in a strange way, I had pride in my ability to keep my wits about me and keep my fortitude until I would completely fall down and get sick. I was the kind of drinker that would drink to either till it was gone or until I was going to puke, get sick. I mean, that's how hardcore. So I just want to let anybody out there know, if alcoholism is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's no joke. If you're going through it, know that you're not going through it alone. And the hardest part is taking the first steps. I didn't even really want to get sober. I didn't. I kept justifying to myself, I've only got one life to live. I want to have fun. I enjoy drinking. I enjoy it as much as life. It helps me emote. It makes me relax. I sleep better. You'll justify it 1,000 million different ways. But ultimately, if it's affecting your personal relationship, some people, are what they call functioning alcoholics. And, they drink and they get up and go to work. And that's kind of what was going on with me when I was working at the Forge. So I was getting so much exercise and sweating out and everything. I could drink 18 beers in the evening when I got home and never had a hangover because of the exercise and the diet and, sweating it out and needing the calories. And it's just something the body loved after a hot day in Florida working in a forge, to drink a nice cold beer. I mean, you can see how romantic I would even get about it now. But it's no big loss. It's really not a big loss. You find that you end up with more time. You notice a greater passage of time. So some of the biggest challenges to deal with, especially initially, are boredom. Like, the TV shows are just not that entertaining anymore, and the bar scene is not that fun. And to be surrounded by other people that are drinking and not be on that same plane that they're on is not as fun. So it's definitely a transition. So you look for things to fill those spaces of boredom. And I've been trying to keep my mind busy with programming, get back to reading, get back to the things that I did before I even knew alcohol was a thing. Because I remember when I was a kid and seeing the effects that it had on my grandfather, I said I would never drink. I never would do it. And, how little I knew about who I was, and you learn. Because I guess for at least 10 years straight, I was drunk almost every single day, and I could really put it away. A fifth of liquor in an evening was no problem. Fifth of vodka, most specifically, I liked to drink Stoli. Now, ever since my stomach surgery, I developed a really bad stomach ulcer, one that almost killed me. And even then, when my stomach was bothering me so much, I didn't know what the problem was. I was mixing Jägermeister and milk to try and catch any kind of buzz that I could, because it was the only thing that my stomach could tolerate. And by the time I went to the doctor, they had never seen anything like it, and it ended up in a major surgery, and it changed my life. I mean, I survived, but after that I said, I'll never drink again. I'll never drink again. Well, the first night I get out of the hospital, I want to prove how tough I am. And I've been working real hard after the surgery. I get up, walking around, I'm just, fighting hard to recover. And I want to prove to my buddies, hey, I'm the same guy that I was before this happened. So the first thing I did, and I was probably still drugged up or whatever when I was released from the hospital. In fact, I know it was, so that contributed to poor decision making, because I felt no pain. I felt invincible. And I was going for a walk around in a shopping complex at Barnes & Noble, and there's a little pizza shop there. And went over to the pizza shop, and I ordered a beer and a slice of pizza after I was supposed to be on a friggin' soft food diet, definitely no alcohol. And that was the most painful, other than the night of the surgery where they missed the epidural, that was really painful, I gotta say. That a gut wound's a painful wound, and not have anesthetic for it, that's a real bitch. That was the longest night of my life. But to eat that piece of pizza and drink that beer, still to this day, pizza makes me a little sick. And the beer, it was painful. And that was the first night I got out of the hospital. And I don't know what I was doing it for. I had staples running from my sternum. It's like 23 or 27 staples, something like that. I could go back and count it, from my navel to my sternum. And still, I was going to go and do that same thing. And, after rehabilitating a little bit at my grandmother's house and receiving care, and kind of getting my head straight, my mind right, and off the painkillers, which too were addictive. Fortunately, I never had much of a taste for them, but I remember taking them, and when I stopped taking them, how angry I was, and just unbelievably emotionally irrational. So I understand people with addictions to painkillers and other prescription medications as well. It's insidious, because it does make you feel better, but sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. So you really have to make sure you're keeping an eye on that, because it'll change your disposition, it'll change your temperament, and it'll lead you down a path of hardcore addiction, and you'll have to break it, and for years you won't be the same. You're going to be changed. Heroin addicts, my friend's going through it. He feels pain in a different way than we do. He knows things that we don't know because of what he's gone through, and people that haven't gone through it don't know. So, standing there in the aisle at the grocery store, looking at the beer, and, you know, what really stopped me was I was like, you know, it's $20 for 18 Heineken. I can spend my money a lot better than on friggin' 1 or 2 nights worth of drunk. You know, what can I do with $20? You know, I could buy up some Bitcoin. I could put some Steam credit on and get some video games. I could get some treats for my dog. I could, you know, spend a nice lunch out. You know, not an expensive one, but, you know, or I could eat a ribeye steak. You know, or I could, you know, maybe save up and get care of something nice. And, you know, not be selfish. So I sent her a quick text. I said, because I'm trying to communicate a little bit more. Because when you're fighting addiction, you know, try not, if you can, find people to help you. It's going to be so hard to get through it on your own. You know, I got through the detox part on my own, but I mean, I was sick and shaking and everything. I puked. I couldn't even believe that I was physically addicted. I couldn't believe that I could be physically addicted off of drinking beer, because I hadn't been drinking any hard liquor. But for about 3 days, you know, I was sick. And the first night I was so sick and dizzy. But you can't do it without support. And if you don't have, you know, somebody that's close to you, or you're going through, you know, a period of depression, or maybe your friends or your parents, or, you know, your spouse, your confidant, you know, whoever it may be, may not be available, either emotionally or maybe they've passed away. I mean, there are, you know, groups you can go to, people that you can talk to, you know, connect over the internet, talk to people, you know. Hell, I mean, I'll try and sponsor you if I can, you know, the buddy system. And, you know, when you get that urge, what you do, you talk it out, because it's like anything. You're about to get into a fight, you know, your anger is up there, you're ready to get hostile, and your buddy comes over and says, nah, man, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. He pulls you back, keeps you from doing something stupid. And that's what it is, a buddy system. And there's AA groups out there for you, and, you know, some people aren't, you know, the whole religious thing. And, you know, I never really felt comfortable in groups, especially not talking about my problems. So, but, I mean, I've heard that those programs can be effective. So, I mean, but I don't have any personal experience with it. But I would implore you to really find somebody that you can trust and talk to them. Talk to them. Don't hide it. Hiding it is the worst thing that you can do. Because sure, you can get your drinks and you can cap them and take out the recycling before the morning, and maybe nobody would be any of the wiser. But the only person you're going to cheat is yourself. So if you feel the bugs start to bite you, just, you know, give a shout out to the one you love, and maybe I bought 4 energy drinks instead. So that's what my hand is shaking now, and maybe I'll do a little more programming and, you know, take the dogs out when the traffic quiets down a little bit, and enjoy the peace of Florida moon in sobriety. So much love. Good night.